Yes, sir. You know what it is. You know what to do. It's your boy Thrust, most legendary right here. Yeah, we're gonna get it in. Arts, fortune, and fame. Music for me was a natural progression. I grew up with DJ X. Y'all remember the lineage of Toronto's radio. DJ X was the one on the first hip hop radio show in Canada. He was brought on by Ron Nelson, who's like our cool Herc. So when I was like grade 7, we met Ron, man. So at a very young age, you know what I mean? I started helping him do promo. And then my dad actually was linked to another sound crew called Sunshine. Sunshine was like the main sound in Toronto. And my dad was a plumber, and the guy Warren, who ran Sunshine, was an electrician. So he's known me since I was 5 years old. So that's how I was brought into the game. That's when I was like, my first show, I went to my first show when I was like 13. Just because I knew Warren, it was the Sunshine thing. I wanted to be around this hip hop thing, you know what I mean? And I've been going to New York my whole life. So I've always just been around, blessed, been around music. I spent a lot of time in the States growing up, so that's it. When I first started, the industry was like, it wasn't an industry. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, we're still in the process of building an industry, but back then it was just a bunch of like, it was like DJs would run the scene, you know what I mean? And it was a DJ generated scene. So that's why I said like Sunshine, they would bring like 2,500 people together weekly. But labels and all that stuff, nah. Toronto's always been like an indie kind of city where you have to start your own thing, you know what I mean, and then establish your business. But when I came in the scene, you had to go to New York. We had to go down there, and we were the kids that actually, I came up with K-Cut, Main Source, all those kind of kids. We young kids, we just go visit our family in the States. And that's where we saw the real business. And we started bringing that and then blending our culture with it up here. And that's how the business came, actually. No, you know the funniest thing? That's something that people here believe. So whenever I've been going to New York my whole life since I was a baby. I had family in Brooklyn my whole life. Right? I've been going down every March break, every spring break, you know, ever since before I could talk, right? So I've always had, and I never ever had that. It was actually been more acceptable because the culture in New York City and Toronto, here's the weird thing, you think American, but it's actually Caribbean. So we're already Caribbean people. So when you go down, you fit in, you know what I'm saying? You got the neighborhoods, you going, boom, you start hearing the history of who this and where they came from, you know what I mean? Biggie Smalls is Jamaican, Busta Rhymes is Jamaican, like, you get what I'm saying? So Jamaican is Jamaican, you know what I mean? People is people, so yeah, we never found that. They were actually more accepting and they found us to be always pure, you know what I mean? And there's always been a joint history, you know what I mean, between Toronto and New York. Like most New York artists will tell you, their first shows when they polished up, learned to perform was in Toronto. They weren't going to LA to Philly back in the day, they were coming here. We had shows, 2-3 shows a week growing up. When I was 15 to like 20, shows all the time. Yeah, shows have changed, like everything has to change over time. You're talking about a city that's pretty much got the same timeline as New York. So we've had artists coming up here and performing since Run DMC. Since Fat Boy, since Houdini. Think of them artists way back, you know what I mean? Some people aren't even born watching this video, like, you're like, what? So they've always been coming here. I met LL Cool J on Run Street, Beastie Boys on Young Street. Cool J walked through the Eaton Center when his first record was out. You know what I mean? But people weren't into hip hop like that, right? It's a different time. You can't compare it now because that's the thing. Back then, every city only had probably 10,000 people into hip hop. Now you come to Toronto, everybody here into hip hop in some way. 4.5 million, right? So it's different. That's why people like it more. It was pure. It was the art. It was pure. You know what I mean? I met the whole circle before they were the circle through an arts program, talking about arts, called Fresh Arts. Fresh Arts was like a program that was initiated through the government. It was a summer program, and they had different disciplines. So they brought people from all over different neighborhoods around the city. From between 15 and 25 are going to this summer program. We did it at a school, and we all met up there. So there was a music program, and that's where the whole circle met. And I was doing a magazine program, and I did like a promotions thing, an events planning program. So I was actually the instructor, right? And then, yes, we all met there like that. It was like just through there. And that's how those kids actually learned. Orrin Isaacs, y'all might know Orrin's OG of this music game. He was helping them do the music program, and that's what Saukrates and that's what they all learned. They were going to Power's house. So we were ready, like, we were just mentoring them. It was like a mentorship kind of thing. So that's what we met, and then we just went on to just do crazy music together. That song, actually, the funniest thing about that song is I tell people, that song was a song that was actually dropped and shelved. That song was supposed to be like on a compilation, and they're supposed to, oh, you know what, the Canadian scene is hot, let's get a couple of artists and put this on this compilation, right? And so the labels called around and saw which indie artists at the time had records out, you know what I mean? And they said, oh, let's make this record happen. So we were like, okay, let's do the record, but there's so many artists, we gotta do something. Let's make the Rascalz verse a 16 instead of having 2 individual verses. We just thought the whole process out before we started doing it. So we recorded it. Me and Shocks went and recorded it here. It was actually supposed to be Julie Black and Chaos in the chorus, but they couldn't make it to the session, so we called Cardi in last minute. So it was really just me and Shocks. That's the first time we heard the Rascalz verses in the studio, recorded the song about half an hour, we're out, boom. And we heard the song got dropped. I'm like, oh well, but that time we were busy doing other records. This song had it was like a year and a half before that record came out, there was this process with the song, right? And pretty much the Rascalz decided to stripe it onto their album after it got dropped from the compilation didn't happen. And then he gave it to all the DJ pools in Canada. They all got it. They never played the record for another 4 months. But we had a distribution in New York. A lot of us, all of us, me, Socks, Cardi, Choclair, we through Fat Beats. We had distributed for our indie records and stuff. So the record was out down there, it was bubbling in New York. That record blew in New York first. So everybody went to New York for Christmas. At the same time, DMX, where my dogs at was out, they're mixing it, putting it in the mix. And it grew from there, and then the DJs came back up to Canada, or Toronto, and were like, yo, we need this record, Solly. I'm talking about most of the DJs that had the record in their crate. You hear what I'm saying? It's one of those things, dude. And then we did the video, and then the rest you all know. You know what I mean? So it was like a year and a half process for that record. It got dropped, people fronted on it, and we didn't know it was even going to be that big. It was just the kind of thing that just happened. So, you know, it just puts you on a status where, like, I leave the planet today, I'm remembered no matter what. And God bless that, you know what I mean? Out of all the things we do, that song always is with me, and that energy is always with me. And it's just nice to give that contribution, because we united. It was the first time the country was united. It was the first time you turn on BET and see a video from here. It was like that song said a lot of firsts, you know what I mean? It was a lot of firsts. First time people heard a compilation song from here when you went to New York, and because they could be like, oh, there's a bunch of artists can rhyme up there. Like, individually it was getting played. When you come with that kind of power. First time we really toured Canada back and forth. You know what I mean? Because we did tour, we got the tour off of it too. It was really, really cool to just go out and just see all the communities across the country, the art, the culture, the dancing. Like, you're like, oh, okay, this is what we're dealing with. So, yeah, man, and it just be an inspiration, you know what I mean? That's hard to say, because it's a lot harder to, sometimes you look at it 2 ways, financially or everybody hearing it. You get what I'm saying? So it couldn't be the same. A lot of those records back then, there was no radio, there was no nothing. We did all that through college radio. No commercial radio, you know what I mean? Much came in way later. That was the, you know what I mean? All those records, Much and all that other video stuff came in later. So I think back then it was like, you really had to be an artist that people really rallied behind. And look at this, do you see, are you still playing a song? Are you still playing a song within the last 10 years? Like right now, consistently? The life of the records, right? The energy of the records. So no, you can't compare those things. I think branding's everything. That's why everybody, you know, want to stay away from them. The deals with the labels, what are they coming for? Coming for your clothing and your publishing, and clothing is everything. And I think we've always been integral from, you look way back, from 100 Miles, 2 Black Guys. Give a shout out to them, you know what I mean? They set a stamp. What's the other line I'm thinking of? Cross Colors. When that helped Maurice Malone, all those artists from back, like the clothing thing really, hip hop was really set a whole tone, you know what I mean, as far as dressing. And look at this influence now, it's crazy. And you can go in so many arenas. I do a lot of clothing stuff too. I do like sports clothing. This is one of our tees we do too. So there's so many ways and streams you can go with it. You can make a brand, or you can just make a commercial brand, or you can make a personal brand. You can make a high-end brand. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the biggest things hip hop has done and brought to like the world, and probably fed so many families off of that, because clothing, if you get into clothing properly and you set it up, it's a very, very good way to sustain yourself. My musical, actually I'm not even listening to a lot of music, I'm still creating music. I do have a group I'm working with my boy Dank Harv. It's a lot I know from Frank and Dank. We got a group called T to the D, so I got to pull that T to the D, Toronto to Detroit, Detroit to Toronto. So I'm in the creative process. When I'm creative, I don't really listen to everything that's out there. I'm listening to more like the classic stuff we've been doing a lot more, just to get that vibe, the warmth, you know what I mean? Big up my man Rain, you know what I mean? Like that kind of like mid-late 90s stuff that we was doing that was really, really popping. The ghetto concepts, the orbs, you know what I mean? I was going back to like a lot of that. And new-wise, I like Rascalz. I always liked them from way back. They had this vibe I like from like way, 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 way back. But there's all kinds of stuff. I like what Drake's doing. Drake's, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying every track, you know what I'm saying, but there's tracks and flows and stuff that's, yo, that shit's on, you know what I mean? But I'm really in my own space. I got my own clique. I work with probably 7 artists right now within my circle. So we just kind of feeding off our own stuff, you know what I mean? And building our own little thing we got going on there. Because if you listen to everything that's out there, then you start sounding like everything that's out there, right? If you know anything about me, people know about me, you can look my stuff up from the past. I've always said we've had crazy producers. Like I got family in New York, I've been going there my whole life. I can go down there and mingle and try and get with those producers. So I said, why? We got the best producers here. From grassroots, from way back. Like listen to grassroots stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? And the production and the level it's here. It's always been here. So I'm not surprised that now the world's caught up to us, you know what I mean? And that's the way the city is in a whole. I think Toronto's always been this great city that it is, you know what I mean? And the world just caught up to us. We were just light years ahead of everybody. You know what I mean? The way we mix into, just break down barriers. Look at the art around here, look at it. Like, you know what I mean? Look what we can do without any trouble with 5 million people. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I love about the city. That's why I never leave it. So. Stay away from the people that say you can't do anything. And Mary J. Blige said it, the dream killers. Stay away from the dream killers. You know how many people told me I couldn't do anything in this city? You know how many people, the things that I've done and beyond, it's been a blessing. But so many people, you can't do that. You can't do that. Oh, you're gonna do that? I'm talking about new stuff, old stuff, like I'm talking about the last 2-3 years, everything. We started doing these shirts, you can't go sell these shirts. You can't. We've been doing this 4 years now. You know what I mean? You can't put a record out. You can't go down to New York, get distribution. Went down, got distribution in New York and LA and Germany. And it was like real quick and real, it wasn't even that hard, you know what I mean? So I always tell people, man, just stay focused on your dream, put your time into it, you know what I mean? And that's the best thing, like, and surround yourself with like-minded people. My favorite saying in hip hop came from Parrish Smith, EPMD. If you hang with 9 broke friends, you're bound to be the 10th one. You know what I mean? So if you gotta be alone, sometimes I gotta be by myself. And that's this dude, he see me. Most people know me, myself. I'm in coming region down, myself. But when I'm with my peoples, you be like, oh, we got a lot of people. But you know what I mean? So if you gotta have a tight circle or don't have a circle. And then you progress, so you can do anything. The world is yours.
In a